Hi everyone. Today's video I compiled some mobility drills that we can use to help alleviate some pain and tightness in the inside or the outside of the elbow. Now these are generally termed as a golfer's elbow, which is the inside and medial epicondylitis, or a tennis elbow, which is the lateral epicondylitis, so the outside of the elbow. Now the actual definition of these constitutes that there's some inflammation or damage or microtrauma in either the inside or the outside tendons, which is usually caused from repetitive stress. Unless you are playing these sports or doing anything repeatedly, either hammering or doing lots of backhands or swinging a golf club, it's very unlikely that you have these microtraumas, but you may have trigger points. You may have this kind of overuse syndrome where there's an imbalance at the wrist and the elbow. So we have to look at, well, most of us in our jobs and getting to our jobs are kind of taking this Tyrannosaurus Rex type of position. Palms are, hands and forearms are usually pronated, flexed, and we kind of take this kind of slouched up position. So what we want to do is we want to counteract that. We want to maybe increase some supination, we want to increase some elbow extension. When you're looking at pain at the elbow, we want to make sure first that the wrist and the hand are taken care of, the shoulder and the thoracic spine are taken care of, make sure our breathing, and make sure there's no neck involvement. So before we start attacking or hammering on an elbow, we want to make sure neck, shoulder, rib cage, breathing patterns, wrist mobility, and hand strength are all taken care of. Most of the time when those are taken care of, the elbow gets better. However, when we've taken care of all those things and we have some specific issues directly at the elbow, this is where some of these mobility drills will come in handy, just using a simple dowel at home. And we're going to walk through them. We're going to show different variations, different hand grip positions, and different ways to slightly stretch and strengthen. In the second video, we're going to go over some strengthening exercises, more specific for the elbow, which will also take care of shoulder and wrist if there's some issues. So, at the end of the video, if a lot of these exercises don't feel better, that means we're banging up the elbow a little bit too much, or we need a further assessment to make sure that we don't have hand wrist, neck, shoulder, thoracic spine, or breathing issues. Okay, I hope you find this helpful. Email me, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
Start with just a straight dowel, palms facing down or a pronated grip. Keep the elbows locked and do some straight shoulder flexion. Be sure to keep the ribs locked down, glutes tight, tail tucked, to not overextend through the back and flare the ribs. Switch your grip so the palms are facing up towards the ceiling. This will give a different stretch into the shoulders as well as the elbows. You'll feel this a little bit more in the anterior elbow into the brachialis. Next, start bending the elbows and slightly press it behind your head. It's almost like a reversed grip, skull crusher to a press back. This will stretch any lat tightness with the triceps and fascia down the backside of the arm into the ribs. Switch the grip so the palms are facing down and you get a slightly different stretch. Those that do Olympic lifts with cleans, this is a nice way to unlock the elbows and increase shoulder flexibility. Take the dowel behind the back into full shoulder extension and do some wrist curls back here. This not only strengthens the back sides of the forearms, but also stretches the palmar side of the wrist. Switch the dowel around to do some wrist flexion exercises while in shoulder extension. Continue to open up the shoulders with some straight arm dowel extensions. Change the grip around to affect it a little bit differently. Taking a casted grip or a hammer grip of the dowel, do some fishing rods, some pronation, supination. Be sure to rotate at the elbow, not at the shoulder. Move slowly into these positions as the weight of the dowel will stretch the forearm and moving too quickly can irritate tissues. Slide the dowel down and perform the same movement. This will affect the pronator supinator muscles a little differently. Take the dowel back behind so the shoulder's in extension and do some ulnar deviation.
I hope you found this video and the information helpful, especially when going after and trying to treat, or not necessarily treat, but alleviate any discomfort on the inside or the outside of the elbow with regards to tightness or weakness or imbalance. Just remember that you have to look at wrist and hand first, shoulder and thoracic spine, and anything above and below that kinetic chain. I'm not really particular with what order you do them in. I just did them in that order out of convenience and what I find kind of the most helpful when it comes to combining and sequencing them. So it's just quick, easy transitions. But at the end of the day, do what feels better. If it makes it worse, probably not the right exercise. If it made it better and all of a sudden you got increased range of motion, it's probably the right thing to do. The cool thing with the nervous system is it gives you immediate feedback. If it didn't like it, it's going to wind you up, it's going to create more pain, it's going to be more guarded. If it felt good, if the nervous system did like it, it's going to let the brakes off, it's going to relax the body, and you're going to get a positive response. So always use range of motion, use your feeling of the movement and the exercise and how the body responded is usually the best indicator of whether it was most appropriate. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me some messages on the bottom of this video or just send me an email.